Today's Sunday we celebrate Thanksgiving a little bit early in our service. And Thanksgiving for those of us in this country is a celebration for many, many things. Certainly it's a celebration of freedom. It's a celebration of the blessings God has given to us and to our country. It's a celebration where we give thanks to God collectively as a community. And as we hear this morning in the gospel lesson, there is a deeper meaning as we understand the leper stories. There is a personal thanksgiving that should be ongoing and much deeper than just simply a celebration on one day. There you are with 9 lepers. What a terrible disease this is. First, we get the loss of feeling. Then we experience the loss of hair, the loss of feet, the loss of hands, the loss of even our nose and our eyes and our face. Your own family treats you as if you're some kind of a grotesque monster. You subsist on alms that are given by strangers. From time to time, you are compelled to cry out, "Unclean, unclean," so that you warn away those who are unsuspecting. What a dread disease, this leprosy. But you know, misery loves company. Thank God for these fellow lepers that I have. Deep in your heart, you long for the company of people who are whole, who have not been so disfigured as we are, but that day is over. You know that you will never hold your wife again. You will never be able to hug your own children again. You have only the company of these other lepers. But at least the 10 of us can bond together. We can comfort one another. We can even make sad jokes about our sorrow. There you are with these other 9 lepers. We have taken up our daily vigil by the side of the road that leads from Galilee to Samaria and then on to Jerusalem. You know, such an occupation is conducive to daydreaming. Perhaps, just perhaps, a wealthy stranger will come by and he will bestow upon you a princely sum of money. Well, you know, it could happen. Not likely, but it could. I can dream, can't I? Meanwhile, somebody else has spotted a stranger approaching. But he doesn't look very prosperous to me. He's followed by some other men who don't look all that prosperous themselves. But someone in the group says they recognize him. They say, he's a famous rabbi. Those are his disciples with him. Someone else speaks up and said, yes, I've heard about him. I've heard that he's even a healer. Maybe he can help us. Well, it's worth a try, says another. And he begins to cry out, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. And others join in on the chorus. Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. Well, the rabbi pauses for a moment on his journey, and he stops. He turns to you and your friends, and he has a very compassionate expression on his face. And he says simply, go. Show yourselves to the priests. Well, under the Old Testament law, it was the temple priest, not a physician, who had the authority to declare and pronounce a leper cured. So you and your 9 friends dare to dream. We dare to dream that impossible dream. And we make our way toward the temple so that we can show ourselves to the priests. We stumble, but only for a few paces do we stumble. And then we realize the healing power of the Master has begun to make itself felt. We can scarcely believe what's happening. It's too good to be true. But it is true. You feel the new strength in your limbs. The terrible spots and the sores are beginning to disappear. Now we are all laughing and we're cheering, and one member even does a little dance in the middle of the road. And we're hugging each other and patting each other on the back. We're almost delirious with joy. Soon, the priest will be pronouncing us clean once again. And soon we will be able to rejoin our families. Can you imagine what that's going to feel like? To be able to hug our wives again, to hold our children again. And so we quicken our pace as we move towards Jerusalem. It's truly amazing what's happening, miraculously, fantastically true. We are healed. The rabbi has done it. But wait, one of your number is missing. Where could he be? And later you encounter him at the temple, and his face is shining with a radiant glow. Where have you been, we ask? He tells his story. When I saw I was healed, I just couldn't help myself. I began praising God with all my might. And then I remembered that I had not thanked the rabbi who healed me. And so I ran back to where he was, and I fell down prostrate and kneeled before him to give thanks. I was surprised to see a disturbed look on his face. I guess he was not used to a Samaritan bowing down at the feet of a Jew. I heard him say to his friends, "Were not 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Not one was found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner. When your friend walks away after telling his story, you silently bury your head in your hands. Why didn't I go back? You ask. Why didn't I give thanks? Have you ever found yourself in a situation like that in your life? Have you forgotten to say thank you at some point in your life when it was important to say thank you? There was an article that was written in the Houston Chronicle back in 1979. It was about a man who was unnamed, and he became a hero, although nobody knew his name. And he didn't receive any thanks for his heroic act, according to the newspaper article. You see, Mrs. Alvarez saw her son, Roy Alvarez Jr., being swept away to his death by a terrible riptide at Rollover Pass near Gilchrist on Thursday. There was her boy, Roy Alvarez, had walked out into the surf and he was doomed to death. See, he couldn't swim and he got into this riptide. And there was a young Boy Scout who ran out and he grabbed Roy and he tried to hold his head up above the water. But the scout was also in danger of drowning himself. This unknown man stepped into the surf, fully clothed, and he took Roy from the Boy Scout so that the Boy Scout could slowly but surely, in total exhaustion, make his way back to the shore. The man held on to Roy, and then the riptide became so great that it rolled both of them under and into the jagged underwater rocks. And the man fought it, and he finally was able to get out of it and hand Roy back to his hysterical mother and to his trembling father. They then were able to take young Roy back to Houston. The last thing they saw of this man was that he was limping along the beach with blood dripping behind him. Well, on Friday, Mrs. Alvarez was calmer, and she called the Houston Chronicle to ask them to express her thanks to the man. She said, he was hurt, and we didn't even get to say thanks to him. We didn't even get to know his name. Will you please tell him how grateful we are? Will you thank him for us? Thank him for giving us back our son. You see, Mrs. Alvarez really wanted to say thank you, but she was so caught up in the emotion and so overwrought about the possibility of her son drowning that she just didn't think of saying thank you. I suspect the same could be said about some of those lepers that we read about this morning. They were so overcome about what was happening to them in joy and trying to understand that they couldn't express their gratitude. Why is it important to say thank you. Well, I think this message gives us some very practical reasons why we should be thankful and say thank you. You see, saying thank you, first of all, is a sign of character. None of us have much respect for somebody who is unwilling to say thank you. There was a man who was choking on a bone, and immediately he called for a doctor to remove the bone. And when it was through, the victim asked the doctor, he said, "How much do I owe you?" And the doctor replied, "How about the amount you were ready to pay while the bone was still in your throat?" How quickly we forget. How quickly we can forget. You see, some of us have knelt before God, and we have prayed and we have begged God for whatever it was that we wanted. Please God, please God. I know you hear all of our prayers. Hear me now. I really need this. I'm not trying to denigrate those kind of prayers. We've all had those experiences where we have prayed and asked God for something. But do we continue to pray thanks after we have uttered those prayers of asking? What kind of a people are we if we are not as eager to pray our expressions of gratitude as we are to pray for our needs and our wants? You see, Jesus praised this Samaritan who came back to say thanks. He said, "Go, your faith has made you well." Jesus appreciated good character, and he knew it when he saw it, and he knew that this individual, this Samaritan, was a person of good character. Saying thank you is a sign of character. Saying thank you also has a positive attribute. It keeps the channels of love open. When we write a thank you note, aren't we in reality saying not only that we're thankful, but we really want to keep this relationship open and ongoing? That it's important to us as a relationship. It's important enough for us to take the time out to say thank you, to be grateful. Thanksgiving and praise are among the most effective means of keeping channels of communication open, not only between us as individuals, but between us and God. How is the best way to say thank you? I don't know if it's the best way, but I can give you an awful good way. And that is to pass our blessings on to others. The many blessings that we have received, to pass them on to others. You know, it happens in families all the time. Why can't it happen within our community? How do we express our gratitude to our parents for the sacrifices that they made for us and all that they did for us in our lifetime? Well, we tell them we love them, of course, and we show them our respect. But maybe essentially one of the best way to say thank you to our parents is to pass on to others what we have received in this life. So, only one of 10, returned to give his gratitude. It's kind of the way life is, isn't it? But it is a sign of character. And it also enhances our character. As we build on giving thanks and build on our character, in fact, does grow. Saying thanks helps you keep the channels of communication and the channels of love with others open. The best way to say thanks is to pass on what we have received from others. Why didn't I write that last thank you note? It's not too late. Do it. Do it today. And oh, by the way, it really is never too late to say thank you to God for all the blessings God has given to you. Do it.